A war is coming, and somehow he is at the center of it. The most powerful beings in this world do not fall easily. They are falling anyway. This is My Three Wives Are Beautiful Vampires, chapters 21 through 30. I look at the woman who is my friend's sister. She has pure white hair, bright blue eyes, and a slim body with skin like she's lacking blood. She's not pale like me. She's more like an albino. And she was born with this physical condition too. She was also tall at 180 centimeters. As she has no skin pigmentation, her skin is very sensitive to the sun. And because of that, she rarely leaves the store or her house and only goes out at night. Her name was Leona Elizabeth Lycos. Normally, I would suspect she would be a vampire, but she isn't. I know that because I've seen her eat regular food, and I know vampires can't eat foods other than blood. Even though Violet sometimes forgets about it and asks to learn how to cook with my mom. I think she was just excited. I walk over to my cat and start petting him. And as usual, he starts to purr contentedly, and then he lies down on the counter and spreads his legs as if asking me to stroke his stomach. Leona approaches me, and I also see Andrew walking away and sitting in the chair away from the counter. He seemed to be waiting for me. I think he doesn't want to talk to Leona. Well, I don't judge him. What he did in the past must have hurt Leona. Because of that, he's just being considerate. Why is your cat just like that to you? When I try to caress him, he starts growling at me. Leona spoke with a pout as she stopped and looked at me like she was sizing me up. I feel her looking me up and down. Well, he is my cat. I spoke. Meow! Zach meowed in agreement. You've changed, Leona spoke as she looked at me. Yes, you too, I said honestly. After all, I noticed her skin was better than in the past. I think living in isolation helped her. Leona remains silent, and I see her continue to stare at me. I look at her confused. I know I've changed, but does she need to stare at me like she's seeing a rare animal? How is Zach's health? Suddenly, she stopped staring at me and looked at Zach. He's fine. Really? But he was meowing a lot earlier. I remember I couldn't sleep because he kept meowing like he was dying or something. Well, he was horny, huh? I looked at Zach, seeing the chubby, fluffy cat staring at me with a satisfied look. I found it so cute that I started stroking more. You mean he was in heat? Meow, meow, he purred contentedly. Yes, because of that, he was meowing a lot. Wouldn't you consider neutering him? Since you are my childhood friend, I'll give you a good price. Zach suddenly gets up from the counter and looks at Leona with a glare like he's looking at his greatest enemy. He's even growling a little. He didn't like that idea very much. I chuckled as I looked at Leona, who was looking at Zach in shock. He's very smart, she praised him. Yes, I said, nodding my head. Then I answer her question. I won't castrate him. After all, as a man, I understand Zach. He still wants to have kids, right? Buddy, meow. Zach meowed as if he was agreeing. Then he jumps on my shirt and slowly climbs up my shirt, over my shoulder. Then he hangs on my shoulder. This is something he did a lot when he was younger. After all, I've raised him since he was very young, and he always liked to be on my shoulder for some reason. As my shoulder was wider than before, he could easily find a comfortable position. Isn't he acting like a monkey? Leona spoke a little surprised. Zach looked at Leona and started growling at her. He really didn't like her, huh? Ugh, I feel offended. All animals like me, and because of this gift, I created this store. But why doesn't he like me? He's so cute. I wanted to hug him. She spoke with a pout. I just laugh a little, and I found Leona's expression cute. When I was going to say something, I heard, "Oh, Victor, long time no see." I look at the store entrance, and soon I see a tall man walking in. He is 195 centimeters tall, with a toned body, platinum blonde hair, and blue eyes like Leona. He was Leona's brother, Edward Jonathan Lycos. He was also my former personal trainer. In the past, he worked as a fitness trainer, but he suddenly decided to change jobs, and now he owns a bar. He is also the man who trained me in martial arts in the past. Although I couldn't learn much because of my physical limitation, I just learned how to defend myself. Techniques like kicking a man's most precious organ, using a stun gun, come to think of it. This was training for frail women, huh? Sup, Ed? Do you still shine in the sun when you walk down the street? Ugh! Can you forget about this boring joke? Because of that vampire movie, every Edward on the planet is now suffering from that joke. He spoke in annoyance. I laughed a little and said, I'm kidding. How are things going? It's okay, I've finished building my bar's leisure area. You can go there if you want. Remember, I only open at night. He spoke as he closed the door and walked towards the counter. I see, I will visit sometime. Brother, did you finish the order I requested? Leona asked me. Yes, that was an easy thing. Good, Leona nods satisfied and goes to meet a customer who has entered the store. I see Andrew approaching, and then he says, Yo, Ed, how are you doing? I'm fine. Edward looks at Andrew. Is my sister still mad at you? Yes, honestly, I didn't know that woman was her only friend. If I knew, I wouldn't have approached her. Andrew spoke with an apologetic face. In the past, Leona was bullied because of her looks, and as she always hung around with Andrew, who was a cute boy, and my other friend Fred, she ended up earning free hate from the girls at school. She also hung around with me in the past, but I was pretty much a non-existent being to the girls at school. After all, I was thin and I looked really sick. I think I got along with Leona because of these similarities. Fortunately, her brother never let the bullying escalate since he was a veteran at the time, and he protected his sister tooth and nail. He even beat up a student who hurt his sister. How can I say? I respect him a lot. He doesn't care if they're a woman or a man. His fists have true gender equality. Although this incident was a big problem in the past, he almost got arrested. Luckily, he had the support of my mother, who was a renowned lawyer. If not for my mother, and his father, who was a teacher at the school in the past, he would be behind bars now. A good side of this story is that bullying stopped happening. After all, the girls were afraid of Edward. But it's not all flowers. Because of this incident, Leona couldn't make friends near the area where she lived, and the only friend she had used to date Andrew. And Andrew cheated on Leona's friend with an older woman. Because of that, Leona is angry with Andrew. You don't need to worry too much. One day she will forgive you. You are good friends after all. Edward spoke with a gentle smile. Ugh, stop lying. I know her as well as you do. I know she's spiteful, Andrew said. Indeed. Edward nodded his head in agreement. Meow. Zach meowed in agreement as well. You just now that noticed, brother? Leona, who finished serving the customer, said, now that there were no customers in the store, she could participate in the conversation more actively. How am I going to figure that out? He was always the shortest of the group. Oof. I made a gesture like I was being pierced by an arrow through the heart. Brother, you don't have to be rude. It's okay. I also know that I was short. I was even shorter than Leona. I commented a little depressed. Your muscles are defined too. How did you get that muscle? He asked curiously. Well, I followed the training you went through and some videos on the internet. The lies are getting more absurd as time goes by. It's pretty obvious they're suspicious. They just don't ask too much because they respect my privacy. Oh, you're not on steroids, are you? Of course not. I know what it does to the body, I replied. I take Zach off my shoulder and place him on the counter, then stop stroking him. Zach meowed at me annoyed, but I ignored him. He seemed to snort for a few seconds and then started walking around the establishment. Suddenly, Edward puts his hand on his chin and looks at me. Are you still being bullied? He asked in a neutral tone. Leona and Andrew look at me. Leona looked worried and Andrew looked angry. I'm not being bullied anymore. I resolved that situation yesterday. I spoke with a big smile on my face. I saw Leona's body shake a little and Andrew just kept looking at me. I heard, you dealt with him using a basketball game, Edward said. I heard you jumped from the middle of the court and made a dunk. He continued as he looked at me with suspicious eyes. I remained silent. After all, I wasn't making an effort to hide the changes in my body. I didn't want to hide them either. Well, no need to feel pressured. We all have secrets we want to hide. I'm just upset you didn't want us to get involved in this situation. Edward spoke with a gentle smile. Yes, I wanted to hit that bastard, Andrew spoke. Yes, bullying is unforgivable, Leona said. I look at Andrew. I appreciate you guys caring about me, but you know me, right? I looked at my friends with a big smile on my face. Luan is mine. Just mine. I will not allow anyone to get involved in this. He is someone who hurt me and insulted my mother. This grudge can only be washed away by me. This is my pride. Only I'm allowed to step on and break Luan. I won't be satisfied otherwise. My friends may call me a fool or an idiot, but I don't care. I will not allow my enemies to be destroyed by anyone other than me. Sai, I understand you. You have your pride as a man, and I respect that, but don't go overboard, okay? I don't want to see you arrested, Edward said and advised me. Indeed, if you are arrested, please know that I have a plan for you to flee to Brazil, although that plan is still in progress, Andrew spoke. You are fools. Why don't you just help him? Leona practically screamed out loud. Andrew and Edward looked at Leona. Edward said, he didn't ask for help, and I respect his pride. As a man, I can understand his feelings. Andrew said, Victor is my friend, and he knows his limits. If he needs help, he knows he can count on us if he didn't ask for help. I won't interfere. You guys are just idiots. Leona snorted. You wouldn't understand, Edward said, and Andrew nodded. Yes. I don't understand because I'm a woman, right? Leona spoke irritably. Wrong, you don't understand why because you never tried to fight people who bullied you, Edward spoke in a hard tone. I was weaker, and Leona tried to say something. But Edward cut her off. I'm not talking about that. There is a big difference between accepting bullying and fighting it. The attitude of how you deal with bullying is what matters. You never decided to ask for help, and you never talked about it. You just put up with everything silently. Edward spoke, raising his voice a little. Leona looked shocked at her brother. He sighs and says, unlike you, Victor never accepted bullying and warned us what was happening to him, and he told us that he was going to solve it somehow. Indeed, Andrew continues ignoring Leona's gaze. Although we trusted Victor, we were always on the lookout for something to get out of hand. We respected Victor's pride and decision, but that doesn't mean we stood still while our friend was beaten. He said, smiling. It seems they did something I didn't know. I really have good friends, I thought, with a happy smile on my face. Seeing Leona's sad look, I say, don't think about it too much, Leona. Everyone handles a situation differently. I'm different from you, and you're different from your brother. You don't need to push yourself so hard. I approached Leona and patted her head a little. You just need to do things your way, okay? And if you need help with something, you can count on me, your brother, Andrew, and Fred. Leona lowers her head, and I see her face turn a little red. As her skin was very white, her embarrassment became quite noticeable. I wasn't supposed to do this. I need to control this hand of mine. I have become very used to stroking women's heads. I look at Edward and see his bloodthirsty look. He was warning me of the code. I quickly pull away from Leona. For a moment I see her pouting as she glares at her brother in annoyance. Victor was always good with words, Andrew chuckled. Then he continued, Oh, I hear he's married. Leona and Edward looked at me in shock. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, currently up to 22, visit my Patreon, patreon.com, or Victor Weissman, more characters, images, and https://discord. GG/4fets like it. Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. You're married, Victor? Edward spoke as he looked at me with a shocked face. Yes, I answered honestly. Marriage is not a good thing, Victor, but if you're happy, I'm supportive. He spoke while shaking a little. He seemed to remember bad things from the past. PFT. Andrew started to laugh. I looked at Andrew, who was laughing. Stop laughing? And why did he react that way? I asked. He held back his laugh and said, Oh, you didn't know, right? A few years ago, Andrew tried to marry a woman, but she was the jealous and stalking type, and because of that, he has emotional scars from what happened. I see Edward shiver a little when he hears Andrew talk about what happened. But aren't they the best women? I replied without understanding. Meow. Even Zach, who was a little distant, meowed aloud. I looked confused at Andrew and Edward, who were looking at me as if they had seen an exotic creature. Edward puts his hand to his face, like he has a headache, and asks me, Do you have a head problem? Now I was the one who didn't understand. From the expression, he's making it obvious that he really doesn't understand his problem. Andrew spoke as Edward nodded. Then Edward speaks, Listen, Victor, jealous and stalking women are the worst kind of women. Don't go near them or you'll get killed. I don't understand what you're saying. If you accept her feelings, won't everything be okay? Why should I care? I asked, really confused. They were silently looking at me with their mouths open in shock. He's a lost cause. Come to think of it, he's always been like that, He always picked the craziest women. Andrew spoke as if thinking of the past. Coming to think of it, that's true, Edward said. Then he continued, Has he never heard that he should never date a crazy woman? Wait, Leona suddenly screamed as she looked at Edward and Andrew. Are you just going to ignore that he just said he got married? She spoke as she knocked on the table. "Oh, that's true," Edward said. "Who is your wife? Do you have a picture of her?" Andrew asked, and, hearing Andrew's question, Leona and Edward looked at me. I do. Actually, I had pictures of Violet and Sasha. I didn't take these pictures. It seems like Natalia was making a photo album or something. So, she took some pictures and sent me to my phone. I never understood this maid. She always seems to be hidden, but when I call her, she always appears. She is like a ghost eye. Pull out my cell phone and show Violet's photo. Andrew whistled. "She's hot." I looked at Andrew with an emotionless expression. "Keep talking, and I promise you tomorrow you'll wake up in New York Bay. I bet the fish will love to eat you." I saw Andrew's body shake a little. He replied, "It's just a joke. And you wouldn't do it, right?" I keep looking at him with an emotionless gaze, right? I saw Andrew's expression darken a little in fear. "You know I always keep my promises," I said in a dry tone. "To be honest, I wouldn't do that. He's a good friend, and I wouldn't kill my friend just for that. But he would get hit a little." "Yes, I know," Andrew said in a serious tone. "Victor wouldn't dump you in New York Bay, but he would probably hit you, and I think he's more capable of defending himself with his current body." Edward continued. Suddenly, Leona appears in front of me and takes my cell phone. I look at her confused. Then she flips the image to the side and sees Sasha's photo. "Who is she?" she asked in a neutral tone. "Oh, she's my second wife." My three friends look at me with the most shocked face I've ever seen in my life. If this was an anime, I bet their mouths would be on the ground by now. "Hold the balls of the donkey!" Andrew practically yelled. He approaches Leona and looks at the image of Sasha on the phone. I see Leona's eyebrow twitch a little in annoyance, but she's silent. I see Edward approaching, and he also sees Sasha's photo. I don't know how to react to that. "When did you become a Chad?" Edward spoke in a tired tone. I see my cat climbing on Edward's shoulder and looking at Sasha's picture. Then he looks at me and meows as he raises his paw. Meow. He seemed to be praising me or something. Wait. Leona looked quite shaken. She looks at me and asks, "Do they know about each other?" "Yes, of course," I replied. You made quite a catch. I never thought I would say that, but I'm proud of you." Edward spoke as he held back the tears from his eyes. Somehow I could tell he was jealous, but at the same time, he was scared. "Ed, you don't understand. You know our friend here, right? Do you think he's a man to chase after another woman if he's married? He's not me." Andrew practically screamed. "Bruh, you mustn't say that about yourself with pride." "Coming to think about it, you're right," Edward said. "Yes, Victor is a very loyal man," Leona said, and the three looked at me. "Well, to be honest, they're the ones who came after me," I replied with a happy little smile. "The three of them look at me with dead fish eyes," Leona said. "You know you can't marry more than one person in this country, right?" "I know." I nod my head in agreement, but human law means nothing to vampires. Question. Andrew raised his hand like he was a child who wanted to ask the teacher a question. "What? Do your wives get angry when other women approach you? Do they suddenly have tantrums? Are they very jealous?" I look at Andrew shocked. "How did you know that?" "Bruh," Andrew replied. He looked at Edward and Leona. Now everything makes sense. Edward nodded, and he looks at me with a dead fish look. "Rip, buddy. I think soon we'll be going to your funeral." "Huh. Brother, don't gamble on Victor." Leona spoke irritated, then she continued, "What if he really dies?" "Why are you thinking I'm going to die?" I asked. As soon all my friends looked at me in shock, even my cat looked at me. "You're dating two Yandirs," Buddy Andrew said. "Yandir?" I questioned the word I didn't know. "Do you remember that pink-haired girl anime that we watched in our teens?" "Oh, I remember. I thought she was pretty at the time. What about her?" I asked. I saw Edward, Leona, and Andrew's faces tremble as they heard my words. "She is a Yandir." "I see, and you're saying my wives are just like her?" "Yes." "Isn't that a good thing?" I blurted out. After all, I don't know what the word Yandir means, but Violet and Sasha are adorable, and that's all that matters. Sigh! Sigh! Sigh. The three sighed at the same time, and it looks like they've given up on something. "Just don't die, okay? And don't cheat on your wives, or you'll die." "I would never do that. Why should I cheat on my wives if I have such beautiful wives?" "Sigh, if you didn't have a screw loose in your head, you'd be a good man." Leona sighed. Edward looked at his sister with serious eyes. "I won't allow it. Absolutely not." "You'll never get married while I'm alive." "Brother!" Leona cried out in embarrassment. "There's Edward Siskin," Andrew said, laughing. Siskin? I asked, confused. Leona, Andrew, and Edward looked at me as if I had done something wrong. Andrew says, "You're an uncultured man, buddy. We need to sort this out." Huh? Well, don't judge him too much. He's a movie man. I remember his dad likes watching movies. He must have been influenced. Leona helped me. Heretic, Edward said. Coming to think about it, he's only watched 2 animes in his life, huh? Andrew spoke, unforgivable. Edward said, It was the one anime with the alien that gets stronger and his hair changes color, and the pink-haired Yandir's anime, Leona said. Yes, I remember you recommended it to him at the time, Andrew said. Indeed. Leona nodded. Suddenly, my cell phone started ringing. Leona looks at my cell phone and says, Kaguya? Oh, she's my wife's maid. Maid, Leona spoke in a stutter. I hold out my hand and Leona nods as she hands me the cell. I answer my cell phone and start talking to Kaguya. While Victor was on the phone talking to Kaguya, his friends were whispering in a not-so-low voice. Did he just say maid? Leona spoke. Why are you stuttering? Andrew asked curiously. Idiot. Hiring a maid is expensive, did you know? Leona spoke. Oh, I didn't know, Andrew said. I think his wife is rich, Edward deduced. Isn't he very lucky? Andrew can't help but speak out loud. Leona and Edward look at Andrew confused. Andrew begins to explain. He married 2 wives, and one of those wives is rich, and both wives are beautiful. Oh, you're right, but it's not all flowers, they're Yandirs, you know? He could die at any time, Edward explained as he shivered a little. I think Victor will be fine, Leona said. Now that she was calmer, she could think better about the whole situation. What do you mean? Edward asked. Remember how Victor's personality is. He may not realize it, but he knows how to treat a woman well. I think his mother's teachings influenced him without him realizing it, and he became a natural playboy. Leona would never say that the head pats Victor gave were good too. She would never speak it out loud. Never! And he doesn't refuse Yandir's advances, so I think he's safe. The protagonists only die in the anime because he refused women's advances. After all, most of these protagonists were beta men, Leona said. You're right, Andrew said. Victor likes crazy women, huh? Edward spoke out loud. He looked confused. Just in case, I'll keep in touch with a friend of mine from the police. After all, stalking is a criminal act, Andrew said. Oh, now that I think of it, in real life the act of stalking someone is a crime, Leona said. Leona, you are watching too many animes, Edward scolded her lightly. Brother, I can't leave the house because of my skin. What do you think I should do? Look for a boyfriend! Absolutely not. I will buy more animes for you. So stay home. Humph, Leona huffed and turned her face away, but Andrew could see she had a smile as if it was all part of her plan. Victor ended his call and said, I'm going home. I look at Zach and say, Hey, Zach. Let's go, buddy. Meow. Zach, who was lying on a chair, gets up, walks slowly towards me, and climbs on my shoulder. Then I put my hand behind to hold him, and he lies down on my shoulder. Are you absolutely sure he's not a dog? Or a monkey? How can a cat be so smart? Leona asked in disbelief. I also see Andrew and Edward nodding. He's normal. He's just used to being that way. After all, I've raised him from a young age, I replied. Leona is silent and decides not to argue anymore. She just sighs as if she had given up on something. Oh, my wife met my other wife today. Because of that, I'm happy, I answered honestly. My 3 friends look at me with dark faces, and I realize Edward was shaking a little too. 2 Yandir will meet. Andrew swallows hard and sighs as he looks at me with respect. How can I say? Victor, you are a man among men. Thanks, I replied, confused. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. I spoke as I turned around. Bye, Victor. Try not to die, buddy, Edward said. Take care of yourself, Victor, Andrew said. He looked like he wasn't going to follow me anymore. Leona didn't say anything. She just waved at me. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters currently up to 23, visit my Patreon, patreon.com, or Victor Weissman, more characters images in :https://discord. GG/forfets af like it. Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Tell me, Zach, I said to my cat as I walked towards my house. I noticed people's eyes on me. It's like think they've never seen a cat in their life. Even though my cat doesn't speak, I can deduce or imagine what he says. After all, he is a smart cat. Currently, Zach was on my shoulder as he looked around curiously. Meow. Zach meowed curiously. After living so long with my cat, I was able to differentiate his every meow. His being so smart helps a little too. Did Leona treat you well? I asked as I walked. Meow! Meow! Meow translation, she treated me well. But she bathed me! I hate that woman! Oh, I see. I know you don't like to shower, but you can't go without a shower. What if your fur falls out and you go bald like a rat? Meow translation makes sense, see? I know you don't like to shower, but a shower every week isn't too bad, right? I spoke with a smile on my face. I look over my shoulder and see Zach staring at me with a horrified look. He seems to have heard something scary. 3 baths a month. I tried to negotiate. Meow! Translation, 1 bath a month. 2 baths a month. That's not negotiable, I said. Meow! 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 Translation, tyranny! I demand democracy. We live in a free country. Even cats have rights. Sigh, Zach. If you were a quiet cat, I'd agree to a bath a month, but you go out a lot for walks, and when you come home, you're all dirty, I spoke. Meow meow. Translation, but you're right. Now that I stop to think, what do you do on your walks? I asked curiously while ignoring people looking at me open-mouthed or commenting if I was crazy or not. Meow. Meow. Meow translation, I'm going after the female cats. They love me, even though there are other cats, so? Didn't you fight for dominance? I asked while raising an eyebrow. Meow, 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 meow. Translation, of course I fought. I used that technique called the T-pose that you taught me. Using this technique, I asserted my dominance, and now I have 4 wives. That's my boy. I said, laughing as I took him off my shoulder and carried him like a baby while stroking his stomach. Meow, meow. Translation, Komochi, you are very good at this. Ha! Why did the first word come out in Japanese? Am I imagining it wrong? Looking up into my cat's satisfied face, I shrug like I don't care, then I put him on my shoulder again. Arriving at my house, I open the door and enter. I came back and brought Zach with me. I spoke out loud. Meow, meow, meow. Translation, sup bitches, I'm home. Zach! I hear my mom screaming as she runs towards me. I see Zach's fur rises, and he quickly jumps off my shoulder and falls to the ground. Then he runs away from my mom. Hey! Don't run away from me. Zach, get back here right now. My mom yelled as she looked at Zach, who ran up onto the couch. Meow. Translation, never. Ignoring my mom and Zach's banter, I walk towards the basement stealthily. When I first enter the basement, I see what my old basement looks like, but when I put my foot on the first step, I see a little magic circle appearing, and soon the basement changes. Which technology is very useful, Kaguya? What are you doing? Let me kill that, bitch. I heard Violet's voice. I'm sorry, Lady Violet, but I can't let you do something you'll regret. Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone. Well, looks like I made it on time. I walk towards the room Sasha was in, and when I open the bedroom door, I see a rather surprising scene. Kaguya was holding Violet on the ground with a jujutsu technique called a rear naked choke. A little far from Kaguya was Natalia, who was just watching everything as usual. Sasha was watching everything with a neutral gaze. Currently, she was sitting on the bed, and beside her was Maria, her personal maid who was a former hunter. Violet looked quite startling. Her face was distorted with hatred, and she was glaring at Sasha with her red eyes gleaming with killing intent. I realized Violet was trying to use her powers, but Kaguya was smothering her before she could concentrate on using them. As expected from an older vampire, she managed to immobilize Violet easily. I guess it wasn't that easy. Looking more closely, I realized that Kaguya is trying very hard to hold Violet down. Yo, I said with a smile on my face. Suddenly, all the women in the room look at me. My wife Violet's killing intent seems to explode when she sees me, Victor. She didn't call me darling as usual. I look at Kaguya and nod my head, indicating for her to let go of Violet. She looks at me with a face that asked if I was sure. I close my eyes and nod my head as I smile. Violet suddenly jumps towards me, and I realize she's trying to stab me with her hand. Since I'm not ready to feel this pain yet, I take her hand, and, as if it's a very elegant dance, I shift her center of gravity, then quickly sit down on the floor and drop her onto my lap. I also realized she wasn't putting that much force into her attack. Violet didn't understand what happened. Well, I seem to still remember the dance lessons I took in the past. This was a long time ago when I attended a multi-billion company CEO's party. As my mom was the CEO's attorney at the time, I had to participate and dance with the CEO's daughter. And because of that, I had to train in classical dance for 2 months. It was the most irritating time in my teenage life. Stopping to think now, that was the same day I found Zach abandoned in the street. I hugged Violet around the waist and spoke into her ear, "Calm down, I'm not going to disappear or anything, and you're not going to lose me, so you don't have to attack me out of jealousy." Violet seemed to melt when she felt my embrace and heard my words. I noticed her eyes revert to their normal violet color. And to think that there was someone other than Violet's mother who could calm her down, Natalia commented. I look at Natalia and I see her with a small smile on her face. I could also see Sasha and Kaguya's shocked expressions. "Why are you looking at me like that?" I asked as I started stroking Violet's head. When Violet goes crazy, she only gets calmer when she destroys everything around her. Sasha spoke in a neutral tone. It was like she was used to it. I also noticed that she was looking at Violet with an annoyed look. I noticed that Violet's smile seemed to grow in a distorted way, and she put her face to my chest and started sniffing at me. "Darling! Darling! Darling! Darling!" She started talking like she was possessed by some evil spirit or something, although she looked quite adorable now. Suddenly, her smile is gone, and she looks at me with a serious look. "Why am I smelling another woman?" "Oh, I went to get Zach from the vet. I found my childhood friend who works at that place," I replied while smiling. When I saw Violet's eyes change to blood red, I cup Violet's cheek in both hands and pull. "Don't think nonsense. Estep," she said in a funny voice. I stopped pulling her cheek and kissed her. "Uhumpif." She made a funny sound of surprise, but soon she returned my kiss. As we practiced a few times, we were a little more experienced. Suddenly, I feel a burst of murderous intent. I stop kissing Violet and look at Sasha with a smile on my face. "Humph." She turned her face away in annoyance. This seemed to make Violet satisfied. She smiled lovingly and hugged me possessively. "You know I'll never run away from you, right?" I commented as I stroked Violet's white hair down her back. "Yes, but..." She bit her lip. I made her look at me. I needed to say this. "I don't know about Ruby yet, but Sasha is my wife. I want her close to me." Violet's face distorted in annoyance. I look at Sasha and see that she was a little embarrassed. "What do you think about this?" I asked her opinion. "Emmy?" She pointed to herself. She didn't seem used to showing affection. I do not know." Suddenly, Kaguya appears beside Sasha and slams her elbow into Sasha's stomach. "Ouch! What are you doing?" Sasha yelled angrily. "Don't be indecisive now. This is about your future." Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone. When Sasha heard Kaguya's words, she was speechless for a moment. I noticed Sasha's face has changed several times, embarrassed, curious, scared, and a little obsessive. It was quite interesting to see how her face constantly changed. "Bitch, be gone." "He's just mine," my darling Violet spoke possessively as she hugged me, but she didn't look as pissed off as before. Suddenly, Sasha's face changed, her eyes turned blood red, and as soon as she looked at Violet, she gets annoyed. "Hooah!" Her face distorted in anger, "This bitch." Sasha gets up from the bed, then she uses her speed and appears beside me. She hugs me from behind in a possessive way and says, "He's my husband, bitch." I feel the sensation of two mature Sasha bunnies on my back. Violet looked at Sasha annoyed. Then she hugged me too. As she was sitting on my lap, I could feel Violet's two bunnies who weren't the same size as Sasha's bunnies, but they were a perfect size. They were neither too small nor too big. They were perfect. I was in heaven now. Well, that was somehow resolved by Lord Victor. Kaguya spoke with a small smile. "Are you sure?" "They look like they could kill each other at any time," Natalia commented as she looked at Sasha and Violet, who were glaring at each other as the two women hugged me possessively. "Well, they can't just hold hands and say they'll get along with each other. After all, you know Lady Violet's personality, right?" "Indeed," Natalia said. "This is just the beginning." Lady Violet is angry at Lady Sasha, but she doesn't want to kill Lady Sasha like before. Lady Violet is just acting like a possessive teenager now. Kaguya explained. Then she continued, and Lady Sasha has stopped being stubborn about her feelings and is acting more honestly. That's progress for a woman like her who isn't used to showing affection openly. Natalia nods her head and puts her finger on her face. Then she commented with a small smile on her face, "I wonder what will happen when Lady Ruby shows up." Kaguya looked at Natalia with a neutral look. "You're having fun with this whole situation, huh?" Natalia looked at Kaguya, and she commented with a small smile on her face, "Who knows?" I could be having fun, or I could just be pretending. Kaguya lets out a small sigh when she sees the blonde maid's attitude. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters currently up to 25, visit my Patreon, patreon.com, or Victor Wiseman, more characters, images, and https://discord. GG/4 fets af like it. Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. As my two wives hugged me, I looked at Kaguya. Kaguya, call that witch here. I need her services. Kaguya looks in my direction and nods, then without question, takes a small ball from her pocket and smashes it. Soon, a magic circle appears on the floor. And, slowly, the witch June got off the ground. She was just wearing a big sweatshirt and short shorts. It looked like she was about to go to sleep. Huh. June was surprised for a moment, but then she soon asked Kaguya, annoyed, really made. I was in Japan about to go to sleep in a hotel after a good shower in an onsen. She knows how to enjoy life with the money she earns, huh? Kaguya just looked at June like she was looking at a pile of garbage. June, I said. June has stopped looking at Kaguya and looks at me, then her face takes on a shocked expression when she sees me. Oya, oya! Has the number of women grown? Isn't that Lady Sasha? June commented, smiling. Sasha and Violet stop staring like they want to kill each other and look at June. Sasha looks at June confused like she was wondering why June was here. She seemed to know June. Violet looks at June neutrally, as if she doesn't care about her. How much do I owe June? I asked. I remember I placed an order before, and she said she was going to charge me in the future. It's better to know how much money I owe her now, so I can plan my steps in the future. Oh, June flashes a greedy smile. Then she says, you owe me $1 million, just as she was about to complete her sentence. She closed her mouth and looked at Violet with a cold sweat falling off her face. Violet looks at June with a small smile on her face. I realize her red eyes are staring at June coldly. Excuse me? I didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that? June's face darkened a little when she saw Violet's expression. Cough. She pretended to cough to change the subject, then continued. I mean, you owe me $30,000, she said with a gentle smile. Good, Violet said, and then hugged me again while ignoring June. I also feel Sasha hugging me from behind while looking at June neutrally. She seemed to be breathing down my neck too, although she was doing it quite sneakily. I was a little surprised that Violet didn't mind Sasha's presence right now, but that's a good thing. I know it's hard for the two of them to get along, but the important thing is they don't try to kill each other while I'm not around. But $30,000, huh? That's a big amount. But I think I can get it in one day if I steal from the right thieves. I need you to make me an outfit and a black mask. I tell my order to June. Huh? June looked at me strangely. What happened? Are you going to tell me you can't do it? I asked. I mean, I can do that, but your requests are always weird, huh? The first one was a fake ID, and now it's clothes. What are you planning? She asked with a curious smile. Knowing about this information is going to cost money. Do you really want to know? I spoke while smiling a little. I could see June's smile twitch a little when she heard my words. You're greedy, huh? June commented. Not much as you, I said. June looked at me shocked and then started to laugh amusedly. Ha 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 ha. You're right. You're right. You're right. I am a greedy witch. Suddenly, several magic circles started to appear on the sweatshirt she was wearing. The circles start spinning quickly, and soon several green lights start to come out of June, and, slowly, her outfit starts changing into a professional women's suit. My name is June, codenamed the Greedy Witch. I am the witch who solves all the problems related to the modern world, with a certain amount of money, of course. She spoke in a professional tone while showing a small smile in the last sentence. Oh, I said while clapping my hands a little for the light show. I also noticed that a card appeared in front of me, and when I took the card, I saw that it had a golden color and had the name June carved into the card. I think this card was made of pure gold. Thank you, thank you. She spoke gratefully while smiling satisfied. She seemed to be quite narcissistic too. I never thought this piece of garbage. Coffee never thought June would give you her code name. Hey, I heard that. June looked at Kaguya irritably. Kaguya just ignored her as she looked at me. Codename, I asked curiously. Codenames are a title given by the Queen of Witches. For the Society of Witches, a code name is a form of status, but not only that, if a witch gives her code name to someone she judges as a customer, a golden card will appear. Sasha explained as she hugged me tighter. Using this card, you can contact the witch to request her services anytime you want. It seems like witches work 24 hours a day. They don't seem to get rest. Oh, thank you, Sasha, I said gratefully. I felt Sasha's body tremble a little. She made a cute sound and hid her face behind my back. Tusk, Violet clicked her tongue in annoyance. She looked agitated. I patted Violet's head, and soon her expression changed to a satisfied one as I look at the golden card in my hand and think, which society seems to be more interesting than I thought? A society built on a form of energy called magic. But why did you give this to me? I don't have as much money as my wives do, and you know it. I told June. June looks at me and smiles. Yes, I know. You're poor now, but I smell money coming from you, and in the future you'll have a lot of money. I'm betting on that. She flashes a confident smile, and I never lose when I make a bet. She smiles like a teenager who has found something interesting and continues, not to mention that you seem to be very close to the two richest heiresses of the noble vampires. Oh, she doesn't know that Sasha's clan has lost its noble status. I feel Sasha's face moving a little behind my back. It seems she's noticed that too. Well, June could be lying, so there's no guarantee she doesn't know anything. Getting back to business? What do you need? June asked as her eyes sparkled with the US dollar symbol. Do you know that anime called Tokyo Vampire? I asked. I didn't watch the anime, but I saw the protagonist's image several times on the internet. The protagonist had white hair, different colored eyes, and was wearing a black outfit. He was transformed by a beautiful vampire with purple hair. Yes, I watched it when I was in Japan. I need an outfit similar to the protagonist's, but I want some changes to the outfit. The outfit should look like a straitjacket used to arrest criminals. The boot should be a little bigger, and the mask should just cover my mouth. Okay. Do you intend to cosplay? She asked curiously. I just looked at her as I smiled and stroked Violet's hair. My wife seemed to be much calmer now, actually. I think she's almost asleep. If you're so curious, I can tell you if you cancel my debt. I spoke. Humph, forget what I said. She gave up. It seems her greed is higher than her curiosity. June claps her hands and several magic circles appear a little away from her then. Soon, an outfit appears. The outfit that appeared is the anime protagonist's outfit, but slowly the outfit began to undergo changes that I asked for. Do you want something like this? She asked. I look at the outfit and nod satisfied, as expected of a professional witch. Praising me won't make me lower the price. She spoke with a big smile on her face. How much did the clothes cost? I asked. June puts her hand to her chin and looks at the outfit as if she's thinking about something. I feel Violet move in my arms. She looks at the outfit I ordered and her eyes start to sparkle for a moment. She seems interested in the outfit. I also felt Sasha, who was hiding her face behind me, peeking a bit at the outfit I asked for. She looks at the outfit for a moment and says, cringe. Oof, I felt a stake piercing my heart. For a moment, my smile almost broke, but soon I recovered and said, I know, that's why I ordered this outfit. No one would ever think a vampire would use this outfit to do what I'm going to do in the future. I may do it for you for free if you tell me what you intend to do. Denied. You can't have everything in life, witch. I spoke with a smile on my face. Then I continued, choose, do you want money or do you want to satisfy your curiosity? Ugshi makes a difficult face, then she speaks screaming, I want both. Moo, as expected from a witch with the title of greedy, but unfortunately, that's impossible, I said laughing. June pouts, she looks very pretty now. I feel Violet and Sasha looking at me with a dangerous look, my smile growing. How do you know what I was thinking? Our connection told us. The two spoke in a neutral tone. Oh, interesting. So they can feel my emotions and my surface thoughts too, huh? I start to think about what I'm going to do when Violet, Sasha, and I finally get alone. Suddenly, I hear two small explosions near me. I look down and see that Violet's face was very red, and I could see that there was smoke coming out of her head like it had overheated. I turn slightly and look at Sasha's red face. I could also see little yellow lightning flashing above her head. My smile grew even wider, and I couldn't help but honestly say, you guys are so cute. Sasha suddenly wakes up from her stupor and screams, do not look at me? She quickly hides her face behind my back. I could even hear her heart beating rapidly. Violet just hid her face in my chest, while she had a huge smile on her face, and, just like Sasha, I could hear Violet's heartbeat. And once again, I understood that they weren't like the vampires in the movies. After all, they weren't dead, although normally my wives' hearts beat very slowly. I looked at June and saw her face distorted. She looked like she had eaten something bad. I laughed when I saw her expression. How much did the clothes cost me? The clothes didn't cost anything. I just had to use my powers to create the outfit. I didn't use any complex incantations or anything like that. I just created fabric. That's something very easy to do. Oh, you are very honest, I said, surprised. For some reason her face turned red. Humph. I just did it for free because I have a long friendship with Lady Violet and because I can create fabric easily. Make no mistake. You still owe me. Why is she acting like this all of a sudden? I see. Thanks, I said with a small smile. Humph. She turned her face away and started muttering something about how it wasn't fair and she should look for a boyfriend or something. Can you create another outfit for Violet? Of course, in a female version. Huh? Violet was surprised. June looks at me and nods, then she claps her hands again, and what happened before is repeated. Soon an outfit similar to mine, except in a female version, was next to my outfit. I looked at Violet. You looked interested, so I got you one. Darling, she suddenly climbs on top of me with a crazed smile on her face and bites me. I feel my blood draining down my neck. Bitch! Sasha got annoyed for some reason, and soon she bites my collarbone and starts sucking my blood. Feeling my wife's emotions and desires, slowly my teeth start to change, and my eyes change to blood red. Then I bite Violet's collarbone. Violet stopped sucking my blood and moaned a little as she hugged me tighter. Kaguya, Maria, June, and Natalia, who were seeing this, all react differently. For some reason, I feel like I should get a boyfriend, June commented. No man will want a gold digger like you, Kaguya spoke in an emotionless tone. Who? June's face distorted in anger. Are you frustrated that your master is being stolen from you, maid? Kaguya's eyes flutter a little, and she is silent. She didn't want to waste time talking to June. June, thinking she's guessed right, started to smile. I feel sorry for you, maid. Lady Violet will be stolen from you. Seeing that Kaguya didn't react to her words, June was confused. Then she thought, did I get my guess wrong? Lady June, I have a job for you, Natalia suddenly said. Oh. June loses interest in Kaguya and looks at Natalia with greedy eyes. I want you to investigate what is happening in this city, Natalia said. Kaguya, who listened to what Natalia said, began to pay attention to the conversation. According to Lady Sasha and Kaguya, a vampire named Lucy stole something from the church. I want to know what that something is. June makes a very serious expression. This is going to cost a lot of money. You know? I know, Natalia said, smiling. Then she continued, money is not a problem. Just investigate it for me. I accept your request, but remember you must pay 50% of the money up front, and if another witch is helping the church, I can't interfere too much. After all, you know the rules of witches, right? Natalia smiles gently. Rule number 1 of witches. A witch must not conflict with another witch. If the witch's employer is an enemy of an individual who is hiring another witch, both witches must abandon their duty immediately. She explained as she was remembering, and then she continued, of course I know. Good. June throws 2 small spheres at Kaguya, and soon she disappears into a magic circle. Kaguya raises her hands and takes the 2 spheres June threw and puts them in her pocket. An ordinary maid doesn't get enough money to pay a witch for this kind of service, she commented. Natalia just displays a gentle smile and doesn't say anything. Soon she walks towards a wall and goes through a secret passage. Tusk, I don't like this, Kaguya said, annoyed when she saw Natalia leaving without giving an explanation. Then she looked at Victor, who was biting his wife's neck, and several thoughts were going through Kaguya's head now. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters currently up to 25, visit my Patreon, patreon.com, or Victor Wiseman, more characters, images in https://discord. GG/forfeits af like it. Add to library! Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. After solving the problems with my wives and getting an outfit to disguise myself as James Smith, I go to college. When I get to college, I notice the students looking at me differently. They seemed to recognize me from the game that I played with Luan yesterday. I also noticed some female students staring at me as if they were looking at prey. Some male students were staring at me, with explicit disdain on their faces. Seeing all this, I just ignored it all and walked towards my classroom. Isn't he that player who jumped off across court yesterday? Did you see the video? A man spoke. Yes, and to think that there was a player with those skills in this school. How did he never get recognized? Another asked. I think I overreacted. I didn't mean to hide my changes from the start. What's the point of gaining powers if you can't use them? I just have to avoid doing something humanly impossible, like jump to the height of a building or something. If things get out of hand, I just have to get out of college. After all, I decided to stay in college, just to satisfy my desire to play sports. Arriving in the classroom, I realize I arrived too early. I look around, and soon I see my economics teacher. He is a tall man. I think he is 200 centimeters tall. He has an amazing white mustache, white hair, and sapphire blue eyes. He was wearing a well-fitting suit, and despite being over 60 years old, he looked like a man who was in his 30s. In the past, when his family and I went for a walk, I could see that under those clothes he wears there is a man with a well-trained body. How did he manage to keep his body toned after being over 60 years of age? Oh, Victor, it's been a while since I've seen you in my class. He spoke with a small smile on his face as he turned and looked at me. Looking into Adam's sapphire blue eyes, I felt an instinctive danger in my body, but the moment I felt that danger, the feeling I got disappeared as if everything I felt was an illusion. But I knew this wasn't an illusion. I decided to keep this incident locked in my head. Professor Adam, you talk as if we haven't known each other for years. It's only been 3 days since I came to your class. He laughed a little with an amused smile and said, Indeed. I walk up to the teacher, and the closer I got to him, I couldn't help but look at his height with a bit of shock. He was the tallest man I've seen in person, and a 2-meter tall man can be very intimidating. He leans against his desk and folds his arms as he looks at me. Tell me the news. I hear you had a show yesterday on the basketball court. Do you know that too? I asked, in mock surprise. Everyone at this college knows what happened, and you made a lot of enemies yesterday. After all, there are a lot of people who worship the captain of the basketball team, he commented casually. Oh, I display a small smile on my face. He looked at my smile, and soon he exhibited a smile of his own, as if he understood something. But you don't mind, right? How do you know? I asked with mock shock, as if he had discovered a big secret, but, of course, I was still smiling. Hey, kid, how long do you think I've known you? I've watched you grow up with my kids. I know your personality very well, he chuckled. He and I laughed together in fun. This teacher is an old acquaintance of mine. He is the father of 2 of my childhood friends, Leona and Edward. This man's name is Adam William Lycos. But don't cause too much trouble. The dean of this college is supporting Luan, and he might try to do something with you. Is he going to try to kick me out of college or something? I spoke in disdain. If it was before, I would be worried, but now, I don't care anymore. Probably yes, but seeing as how you don't care, I think it's okay with you. Just don't cause too much trouble, since that might make your parents sad. He warned me. I appreciate the concern, but don't worry about my family. I'm sure my parents won't be upset about something like that. After all, knowing my mother, if she finds out about every incident from beginning to end, she is going to try to sue the school. What about my dad? He'll just nod at me satisfied. After all, he was the kind of man who works things out with his fist in the past. Well, if you're saying so, Adam said as if it didn't really matter to him. You look paler than before. Are you eating well? He asked curiously. Yes, with the food my mom gave me. I even gained muscle. Look, I said while pointing to my arm. Ha ha ha, he laughed like he thought of something very funny. He and I both know I was lying, but as expected from my childhood friend's father, he's a man who doesn't care much about things that don't involve his kids directly. From what I understand of Adam's personality, he's the kind of man who can see the world burn and he won't care. He would only care about something if his kids were in the crossfire. He's very protective of his family, and that's why he and I get along. After all, we are alike. You tell good jokes, Victor. He spoke with a small smile. I didn't try to joke. As always, your sense of humor is weird, I commented. Try to live as long as I do. I'm sure you'll have a few screws loose in your head. He looks into my eyes and speaks in a deep voice, like he's inducing me to do something. I even noticed that his blue eyes sparkled for a few seconds. What do you think, Victor? Why don't you loosen up a little? Huh, what are you talking about, teacher? I asked, confused. He closes his eyes and sighs a little relieved. Then he smiled. I was asking, how long will you hide behind this mask that you created yourself? Adam, you know that all beings with intelligence in this world who live in society hide their true self, right? I spoke with a cold little smile. Indeed, after all, we weird beings have to adapt to society. He spoke in a neutral tone, then looked at his watch. Victor, class is starting. Are you going to participate, or are you going somewhere? He asked. I'm going to the swim club, I said. I need to experiment to see if I have weakness in the water. Oh, I see. As I've known you for a long time, I'm going to put that you were present in today's class, he said. Thank you, Professor Adam. He didn't need to do this, but, as it's a kind gesture, I just have to thank him. Soon I leave the classroom and walk towards the swim club. When Victor left the classroom, Adam walked towards the window and, with a simple gesture of strength, he jumps towards a tree. Then, soon after, he jumps towards a building away from the college. All his actions were very soft. It was like he hadn't made any noise at all. On top of a tall building away from the college, Adam sighed to himself in relief. Then he picks up a phone and searches the list for the contact named My Princess. Adam coughed a little to disguise that he was relieved about something and clicked to call his daughter. The phone rings a little, and soon his daughter answers. Father, Leona spoke into the phone. Oh, my little princess. He spoke with a satisfied smile on his face. Have you discovered something? Leona asked impatiently. Adam's smile breaks a little, but he replies, yes. Unfortunately, he's not from your family. He didn't react to my pressure like a newborn wolf would, and I also didn't feel the connection indicating he was from my pack. Oh, hearing his daughter's disappointed reaction, Adam quickly speaks, but don't worry. The wolf's transformation may be dormant. After all, just like you, he could just wake up on a night with a full moon. He tried to cheer her up. You're wrong, Dad. Leona sighed. Adam pretended not to understand. He won't become a member of my pack. The wolf's venom has been neutralized by the vampire's venom. Victor is a vampire now, of course. Adam knew this, but he still reacted in surprise. Oh, is he a vampire? Why do you think that? Well, the changes are obvious, and he's married to the Snow Clan's heiress, and Clan Folger's I didn't know that. Adam was really surprised this time, and he started to think wolf's venom wouldn't be an easy thing to neutralize, especially my daughter's venom. But if two noble vampires bit him, it makes sense that wolf venom would be neutralized. What do we do, Father? Leona asked a little apprehensively. Adam wakes up from his thoughts and responds, we don't do anything. Why? As Victor isn't a wolf, he's not our problem anymore. He's just a leech now. Adam spoke in a definite tone. But Leona tried to say something, but Adam cut it off and spoke seriously as his eyes glowed a little bright blue. I forbid you to get involved with him. Father! Leona yelled angrily. Leona, who do you think you're talking to? Lower your voice, Adam growled. He likes to spoil his daughter, but he wouldn't forgive the insubordination. You understand. Leona stops talking, and Adam can hear that she was sobbing and crying a little. His eyes slowly began to lose their intensity, and he sighed, you fool. I don't forbid you from treating him like normal friends. What I forbid is that you get involved in leech affairs. That's not our problem. Arigth, Leona spoke in a tone like she was crying. I'll hang up. Class is starting, Adam said, sighing again. When Adam hangs up, Leona wipes her tears away with the toilet paper and sighs. She was currently in the service area where she usually works taking care of animals. You're good at acting. Edward spoke in a neutral tone. He heard and saw everything Leona did. He even saw her start to sob and cry out of nowhere. Shut up, Leona said. Then she snorted proudly. I learned acting watching K-drama. Only our dad would fall for this horrible act, Edward said as he rolled his eyes. Leona pouted and looked at her brother. What do we do? Nothing. Edward spoke. Then he continued. Victor turned into a vampire, so what? I've known him since he was little. I know he won't act like an IMO and say we're enemies or some shit like that. Just treat him normally. You're right, Leona spoke a little unsurely. Did you want him as a member of the family? Edward asked. Leona's face turned a little red when she heard her brother's question. I understand, I understand. He nods his head several times as if he understands something. You've known each other since you were a child, and you had a similar situation. After all, you and he were sick. He was always kind to you, and because of that, you're in love with him. You expected him to become a wolf so you could get close to him and develop this relationship, right? This is the basic plot of any romance anime. Slowly, Leona's face began to turn completely red with embarrassment. Soon Edward continues, if you followed the plot of an anime, you would approach Victor, and you would start dating him. After all, the childhood friend always wins in this type of plot. Edward makes a serious face and an exaggerated gesture, but you didn't expect a Yandir to show up and steal the man you were in love with. He points to Leona, who had a completely red face. And if one Yandir wasn't enough, he got two Yandir? And when we talk about Yandir, there's only one thing we can expect: trouble. And since he has two Yandirs, he has double problems. Leona started to clench her fist angrily and looked at her brother like he was a dead man. Seeing his sister's face, Edward stopped joking and looked at her with a puzzled face. Don't tell me that's it. Soon Edward's face turns red with anger. I forbid he tried to say something, but before he could finish the sentence, Leona made a move. You fucking idiot! She made a fist and attacked Edward's stomach. Ugh, Edward didn't expect this sudden attack, so he flies towards the wall as a fist imprint appeared on his stomach. Leona huffed. You're wrong. I'm not in love with him. I treat him like a precious friend. Stop making up lies. I just didn't want him to fall into those leeches' traps. Soon she turned and left the room where she was. Cough, cough. Edward coughed a little as he came out of the wall that had the silhouette of his body and says, she's getting stronger at a very fast pace. It's only been 3 days since she woke up as a wolf. Soon, she won't be a fragile girl anymore. She'll turn into a gorilla. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters currently up to 26, visit my patreon.com or Victor Weissman, more characters images in https://discord. GG/4fets af like it. Add to Lee. Brary. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Nighttime. Initially, I just wanted to check if I had a weakness to water, like some types of vampires I've seen in movie theaters. But when I found out I didn't have a running water weakness, I started swimming and felt great. I ended up getting carried away, and I swam until night fell. Thankfully, there wasn't a swim club class today, so I was able to enjoy the pool by myself. I was currently in the men's locker room using a towel to dry off me. As I used the towel to dry myself, I spoke out loud. The only weaknesses I have are the blessed items and that I need to be invited into a stranger's house. I look at my reflection in the mirror and can't help but notice something. Did I get taller? As I stared at my reflection in the mirror, I could momentarily see the figure of my former self, a thin 21-year-old young adult with pale skin and sapphire blue eyes. I compare my current body with my old body from my memories, and I can't help but say something. It really feels like I went through an experiment to create super soldiers. The previous thin, sickly-looking man suddenly turns into a tall, muscular man. The vampire's bite forces the host's body to evolve into its peak state. I muttered aloud. I was 175 centimeters before I turned, and now I'm over 180 centimeters. I wonder how much I will have grown when I stop evolving. My wife Violet said it all depends on my potential. I stopped thinking about bullshit and quickly finished drying myself with the towel that was in my closet. When I'm done drying off, I look in my bag and see the outfit I asked June to prepare for me. I nod my head satisfied, and I look for the clothes I was wearing. When I'm done dressing, I walk out of the men's locker room and carry my bag behind my back. The moment I step out of the locker room, I start walking down the silent corridors of the college. Now that I've stopped to think, shouldn't the building security be patrolling? I hear someone's footsteps approaching in the distance. I look back and see a man approaching with my vampire vision. I turn off my vampire vision, and soon my world goes back to normal, and I look at a man who has a smile on his face. He had blonde hair, blue eyes, and he behaved politely. He looked like those average princes. The man suddenly disappeared and reappears in front of me. He takes my face in his hand and throws me into the wall. Boom! I felt dizzy and felt bits of concrete stuck behind my hair. While confused and alert at the same time, the man laughed contemptuously and said something. Yes, indeed, a little strong, but not enough to be by her side, at least with your little strength. Do you think you deserve to be by her side? Especially with you being a mere plebeian. This will never work. Just stay away from her. Otherwise, I or someone else will kill you and your family for her. That's a friendly warning. Feel honored that you can hear so much from someone noble like me. Next time, I won't be so kind. He laughed out loud and looked at me haughtily. His expression was like a Rottweiler looking at a kitten. I coughed up blood on the floor. I also felt my head regenerate. I looked at the man with a neutral expression while my eyes changed to red. Did he just threaten my families? He a fool my head wasn't working well, but I was sure what I heard. What do you say? How about you just disappear? If you do, I'll let you live. He spoke with the same smile as if he were the most important being in the world. When you disappear, I'll be free to conquer her. I cracked my neck and snapped my hands. That hurt for the first time I spoke. My head was clearer now. He disappears from my vision and reappears beside me again. I couldn't react to him as he held me by the face and punched me in the stomach. Ha 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 ha, so weak, so weak. Why did she choose you? You are so weak, it should have been me. I coughed up blood on the floor and he started hitting me again. As he hit me, I looked at him, seeing his arrogant face and expression that was saying, I am the king of the world. I can't help but think, disappointing all I feel about this man is just disappointment. Is that what a noble vampire is? A creature that has an ego the size of the planet and thinks they're the center of the world. I'll be honest, I was excited to fight a noble vampire. I was eager to fight and crush them beneath my feet. I thought I was going to have a good challenge, but this is just disappointing. Why? Why am I like that? Why am I so disappointed? I don't know where this pride of mine comes from. I'm just a newborn. It's only been 3 days since I turned into a vampire, but why? Why am I just so disappointed? Why am I not angry with him? After all, he insulted my family, the most important treasure of my life. Something is wrong with me. If it was with Luan, I would have attacked him already, but why is it that? With this man, all I feel is disappointment. Why? Crack! Crack! I bite my tongue and refuse to scream in pain as he broke my arms and threw me off the 3rd floor. I feel the glass shatter behind my back. And as I fall from the 3rd floor of the building, I gaze at the full moon with a bored look on my face. I felt pain all over my body, but for some reason, I felt numb. It was a strange experience. It was like this body wasn't mine. I look at the blonde-haired man, and when I see his face, the clouds of doubt in my mind have cleared a little. When an insect insults you, do you feel something? I asked myself the question. The blonde-haired man comes down from the 3rd floor and walks towards me. Soon my smile grows. No, you don't feel anything. In my mind, even though he is stronger than me, he didn't deserve my attention. I don't know where my pride comes from, but I've felt that way since when I turned into a vampire. Same with Luan. I thought he was a worthy opponent, but the moment he lowered his head and backed away like a dog, I lost interest. I hate him, but that's just my sadistic side and ego speaking. I wanted to see him humiliate himself one more time, and in doing so, I would feel satisfied. But I had also lost interest in him when he proved to be just an unwilling servant. I had understood something new about myself, but I still had questions on my mind. I don't understand. Why am I like this? I don't have the experience of a veteran warrior. I'm not a martial arts genius, but why am I like this? Why? Why? I questioned myself several times in my mind while looking at the full moon. I felt strange. It was like this body wasn't mine. It was like these emotions weren't mine. I felt trapped. I felt like a wild animal that was trapped and tamed. I don't understand. Maybe I'm just freaking out. Yes, since I was turned into a vampire, my emotions are very chaotic. I get angry a lot easier. I get attached a lot easier. I hate easier. I feel sadistic pleasure in defeating my enemies, and I feel happy when I step on them with my feet like insects. Yes, maybe something is wrong with my head. As I looked at the full moon, I heard the vampire's footsteps approaching me. He looks at me. Today, you're going to die, and I'm going after what belongs to me. I ignored this man's words. What was his name again? He looked strong, but what was his name? Well, I guess he's not important after all. Suddenly, I remember the words of my teacher Adam. What do you think, Victor? Why don't you loosen up a little? How long are you going to hide behind this mask that you created yourself? When I remembered those words, I felt like all the doubts I'd had the moment I faced this man were cleared up. Ha ha! I felt like laughing out loud, ha 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 ha! I laughed madly as I placed my left hand, which at some point regenerated, on my forehead, and lifted my hair up. It was the first time I had laughed with all my being, and I finally understood why I was feeling weird. All this time, I was holding back all this time. I wore this mask because it's the right thing to do. After all, everything that's weird is excluded from society. I wore a mask to hide the real me. When did I start using this mask? I asked myself, confused. What are you laughing at? Shut up and die! Oh, I remember now, it was that incident when I was a kid and I got lost in the woods. Hey, Vic, and I call you at $%. I heard a child's voice in my ears. The voice sounded like static, and I couldn't remember who it was. I suddenly feel a warm feeling coming from my stomach. It was such intense heat, and it was furiously asking me to let go. I flash a smile full of sharp teeth and let that heat run wild. Boom! A pillar of flames suddenly came out of Victor's body. Ah! Violet, who was lying in one of the underground rooms she had asked to build, moaned aloud. Sasha, Natalia, and Maria, who were in the same room watching television, just looked at Violet confused. Violet twitched her legs and lay down on the bed. Her eyes were blood red, her breathing was ragged, and she was mumbling. Darling! 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 She looked like a broken record that kept saying the same word as she twitched her legs. Lady Violet, what's going on? Oh my God, Natalia said as she approached Violet, but the moment she saw the erotic face Violet was making, she was surprised. Sasha approaches Violet, looks at her friend, and when she sees the liquids that were leaking from Violet, she can't help asking, with her cheeks a little red with embarrassment, "Duh, what is happening?" She stuttered a little. Darling, darling, I can feel it inside me. She responded as she squirmed. Huh? Sasha didn't understand. Natalia, do you know something? Sasha asked. Natalia just shook her head no and continued looking at Violet with the same neutral expression, but Maria, who was close to Natalia, could see that the maid had a small smile on her face. Where is Kaguya? Sasha asked as she looked around. She is in the shadow of Lord Victor, Natalia replied, and continued, she is protecting him. When Sasha was about to say something, she is suddenly surprised when Violet gets up from the bed. I need to see my darling, she spoke with a slightly red face. First, you should change your clothes. Sasha spoke in a tone that didn't allow refusal. Violet looks down and sees the mess that was her dress. She nods her head and then disappears towards the bathroom. I'll go ahead. Something must have happened to my husband. Sasha spoke with her cheeks showing a little embarrassment. She wasn't used to saying the word husband. Soon she too disappears. The only thing normal people could notice was a silhouette of a woman. Sasha's maid Maria also disappears and follows Sasha. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters currently up to 26, visit my Patreon, patreon.com, or Victor Wiseman, more characters, images in https://discord.gg/4fetsaflike. Add to library? Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. What is this? What is it? I asked myself as I looked at the pillar of flames coming out of that newborn's body. This should have been an easy job. I eliminate the arrogant newborn and take the woman I so want. But what is this? Wasn't he just another newborn who was lucky enough to gain Violet's attention? I understand Violet. She must have gotten bored and found a human to treat as her toy. This happened many times in the past, and female vampires have always done that. Wasn't he just that? Wasn't he just a toy? But why does he have this power? Why does he have these flames? How can a newborn have the power of the Snow Clan? Who is this man? Suddenly, Corneliu heard the roar of a beast. Roar! Hi! Corneliu fell to the ground as he stared at Victor in fear. Victor's appearance had changed. His clothes had disappeared because of the heat, and he was practically naked, but that was not noticeable because of the flames that were covering his body. Victor's entire body was covered with fire. His ears became sharper, looking like an elf. The sclere of his eyes that was once white changed to a dark black. His iris turned blood red, and the pupil of his eyes looked like the pupil of a dragon. His smile grew abnormally, and Corneliu could see all of Victor's sharp teeth. He could see that Victor's teeth had also undergone a change. Victor's old teeth that looked like small, sharp teeth grew and seemed to have changed into the teeth of a demonic beast. How? How do you have that power? Only vampire counts have this power. Who are you? It's hot. But I feel good, I feel released. But I feel angry? A growing fury was building inside my body, and I couldn't control that fury. All my senses were improved. I could see, feel, and hear everything around me. It was an uncomfortable feeling. I look at the blonde-haired vampire. When he looks at me, I see he started pissing himself in fear, and when I saw that, my sadistic smile grew on my face. I wanted to humiliate him. I wanted to see him in more despair. I wanted to hear his screams. I took a step forward, and I noticed that when I did, the ground I stepped on started to catch on fire, and I also noticed that the moment I took a step forward, the vampire's entire body shook with fear. With a little thrust from my legs, I appear in front of the blonde vampire and grab him by the neck. He started screaming in pain, and hearing those screams filled me with sadistic satisfaction. I realized that my hand hurt him a lot. I squeezed his neck more, and I saw his neck burning with fire. Let me go! Let me go! I did what he wanted. I released him gently. Of course, he probably didn't like my gentle side very much. I held his throat in my hand and pulled. Those were his last screams, and soon he couldn't speak anymore. When I saw that noble vampire kneeling with his throat destroyed, when I saw him look in fear, I felt my whole body tremble in pleasure. I wanted more. I wanted to see him in despair. I wanted to see him humiliated. I took a step towards the noble vampire to continue playing with my new toy. I suddenly smell an intense smell of blood and turn my face towards the scent. I knew that smell. I don't remember where, but I did. Soon I felt an intense pain in my chest. It was like someone was slowly squeezing my heart. My heart hurt so much. I knew something was wrong. I utilized my vampiric vision, and soon my vision turns to a world of blood. I ignore all the humans in my field of vision, and I focus all my senses on the scent of blood. Soon, I see the vision of several humans covered in golden energy surrounding two female vampires. One female vampire was lying on the ground, and she looked hurt, and the other female vampire was kneeling while holding her arms. Then I focused my attention on the bite mark of the vampire who was kneeling. I felt my heart beat like it was calling her, then I understood something, Ruby. I focused all my strength on my legs, and I jumped towards the two vampires. Seeing Victor leaving, Corneliu did not understand what had happened. In an area that should have been full of walking civilians, a group of hunters was surrounding two female vampires. The first woman was wearing a maid dress. She had white hair and pink eyes, and was holding the wound in her stomach. "Lady Ruby, please run away," she said while coughing blood on the floor. The other woman had red hair and green eyes. She was holding her arm, which was injured by a deep cut. Hearing what the maid said, she looked at Luna with a neutral gaze, though anyone who knew Ruby well enough could tell she was worried about Luna. "Silence, maid," she ordered. Luna flashed a gentle little smile and was silent, but inside, she was trying to plan something so Ruby could run away, but, as usual, she couldn't think of anything. She coughs up blood on the floor and looks at the woman who attacked her. She was wearing a professional white jacket and looked like a Japanese woman, white skin, black onyx eyes. She also looked tall for a Japanese woman, standing at 175 centimeters tall. Then she heard the Japanese woman say, "Ruby Scarlet, heiress of Clan Scarlet, you are very brave to walk around without a guard." "I don't need bodyguards," Ruby spoke dryly, and then she continued, "All beings in our world know the consequences of provoking my mother's wrath." She touches her wound with her fingers, then that brings them to her front. When she sees the blood on her finger, she thinks, "How many years has it been since I was injured?" I remember the last time it happened was when I was 3 years old. I remember that a country disappeared from the face of earth that day. When the older hunters heard Ruby's words, they shivered a little in fear, but when they looked at the Japanese woman, they were more relieved because they saw that the woman wasn't afraid. Indeed, the woman spoke in agreement with Ruby's words. All beings in our world know the legends of Lady Scathach Scarlet. She noticed that her subordinates trembled in fear when they heard the woman's name and shook her head, inwardly disappointed, then continued, "The strongest female vampire in the world. A vampire over 2,000 years old. She has been walking the earth since Jesus was born into this world. Crazy, psychopath, and is considered by the church to be a monster we should never provoke. Because the moment she is provoked, An incident like what happened 18 years ago can happen, an incident that reminded the world how vampires can be terrifying creatures. The moment that incident is mentioned, all the hunters look at Ruby as if they've made the worst decision of their lives. The only one who doesn't feel that way is Carlos, the hunter who attacked and killed Sasha's maid. He looked at Ruby with anger visible in his eyes. Because of you, an entire country has disappeared from the face of Earth. Ruby looked at the man with neutral eyes. So what? The man could not believe what he heard. Don't throw your hypocrisies at me. How many people has the church killed in the name of its God? How many wars has the church caused because of its God? Shall I recall the incident of the Saint of Orleans, Jeanne d'Arc? They were sinners. Oh, so it's okay to murder thousands of people just because you said they were sinners. As expected, the hypocrisy of the church has no limits. Ruby snorted in disdain. Don't act like you care. You're just a monster that sucks blood and kills for fun. Carlos yelled angrily. Carlos' companions just looked at him shocked. They were puzzled by Carlos' attitude. Normally, he wasn't a man who got irritated easily. The Japanese woman looked at Carlos. His mate's kidnapping affected him so much, huh? Ruby chuckled softly in amusement. What are you laughing at? Ruby didn't respond. She just looked at Carlos, and everyone could see that her eyes had changed to blood red. I've never killed a human soul in my life. I've always drunk blood donated by humans to hospitals. I used my mother's money to buy them for me. Carlos opened his mouth in shock. He looked at the Japanese woman. When he saw the Japanese woman gently waving, he was totally disbelieving what he was doing. Did I attack someone innocent? Wrong. She is not innocent. She is a vampire. A vampire is not innocent. Ruby's smile grew unnaturally as her sharp teeth began to show the hard truth to swallow is, you hunters just hunt me because I'm a vampire. I'm a different species. For us vampires, all humans are just cattle. And for humans, vampires are their natural predators. That's just it. That's the law of nature. We need blood, and because of that, some of my species actively hunt humans. And to defend against this natural predator, you were created. This whole situation was created by decisions made in the past, and this is just the natural course of things, although we have created the ritual to control our bloodlust. For the church, it doesn't matter. They just seek to eliminate us. She snorted in disdain. God, motivations, explanations, and even why you attack me today are just excuses for this unchanging truth. We are the predators, and you are the prey. But unfortunately, over time, the situation has evened out, and it has become the contest of two predators, one that will only end when the vampires or the humans disappear from the face of the earth, and I can guarantee you, we will be the winners. Ruby finished speaking with a big smile on her face that showed all her sharp teeth. All the hunters looked at Ruby in shock. When the Japanese woman saw this, she said as expected, you also inherited your mother's madness. I don't think we should let you live. Crazy? Me? PF ha ha ha. Ruby laughed lightly. The Japanese woman just raised an eyebrow in doubt. Ruby stopped laughing and spoke with a big smile on her face. Mizuki, I'm the sanest vampire you'll ever meet. Are these your last words? The Japanese woman asked. Ruby doesn't respond. She just turns her face and looks to the side and shows a shocked expression, but soon a small smile appears on her face. She turns and looks at the Japanese woman. You guys are so fucked. Ha! The woman didn't understand, but when she felt something approaching at high speed, and when she heard the noise of buildings being destroyed, her instincts screamed, step back now! She ordered, and as experienced hunters, they quickly listened to the woman's orders. They didn't even dare to question. Soon a being covered in fire falls from the sky in front of Ruby. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters currently up to 28, visit my patreon.com or Victor Weissman, more characters images in https://discord. GG/forfeits af like it. Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. When Mizuki saw the monster's appearance in front of her, all her instincts screamed danger. She was on full alert. Seeing the monster's appearance, she remembered the information she'd received from the church's pope. Remember, Mizuki, Romanian vampires are on a completely different level than what you destroyed in Japan, especially the Count-class vampires. These vampires are like humanoid weapons of mass destruction, and if that wasn't enough, they have a kind of transformation that taps into the true nature of these vampires' powers. If you meet a vampire like this on your quest, you must step back immediately. After all, you have not yet received the baptisms to become my general. Back. I'm sorry, but I won't carry out this order, Mizuki thought with a small, disdainful smile. On guard! Use level 3 enchantments? Gentlemen, a Count class vampire is in front of you. Prepare to die if necessary. She yelled as she pulled a fan from her pocket. Yes, ma'am. She opens her fan and speaks in a neutral voice. Susanoo, Japanese god of the sea and storms, bless my allies with the protection of the seas. Suddenly, water began to appear at the feet of Mizuki's allies, and slowly this water began to wrap the hunters in a protective layer. And, soon, this water turned into the armor of the ancient Japanese soldiers who fought in the Sengoku period. God, bless my fists, so I can get my revenge. Carlos spoke while being covered by Mizuki's armor. His fists started to be covered by golden energy. Soon all the hunters began to cast spells similar to what Carlos did. The creature looks at Mizuki with a smile on his face that showed all his sharp teeth. The hunters felt their bodies shiver when they saw the creature's smile, but before the hunters could do anything, the creature lost interest in them and turns towards Ruby. Violet. Ruby spoke confused, but when she looked at the creature's face, she spoke in shock to Darling. What happened to you? And how did you get this power? Ruby tried to get up, but she couldn't. She looked at her wound with an annoyed look. This is taking too long to heal. What is happening? I should have resistance to the energy used by the church. Ruby looks at Victor's face with a stoic expression. She had several thoughts running through her head right now. Why is he here? Why does he have access to this form? I'm glad he's here, but I'm worried about him. He's not strong enough to fight a slayer like Mizuki. We must get away. But I'm glad he's here. I don't want him to die. When Victor put his eyes on Ruby's wound, he felt his heart clenching in pain. He wanted to roar in rage. He was almost losing control of his own body. But, as a last show of stubbornness, he managed to stay in a state where he understood everything as if it were a dream. He was awake, and at the same time he was sleeping, but there was only one thing he was sure of, only one thing he wanted to do now. I will kill them. Suddenly, all of the hunters felt as if the world had lost all color for a few seconds. Everyone could feel the killing intent so strongly that they forgot to breathe for a few seconds. Victor turns and looks at the hunters. When the hunters looked at Victor, they felt their bodies suddenly grow heavy. Fear, the purest feeling of human beings, that's what they were feeling now. They couldn't breathe, they couldn't move. It was like their bodies didn't want to obey, and they just froze. But what is it? A slightly younger hunter asked while shivering. Despite having been hunting vampires for a few years, he's never come across a vampire like this. Calm down, a hunter spoke while stammering a lot. Victor's eyes started to look around. He seemed to be going crazy every moment. He looked at all the hunters as he opened and closed his fists several times. Mizuki looks at him neutrally and thinks, he is weaker than I imagined. So she puts the fan in front of her and spoke in a low voice, Tsukuyomi, give me the peace of the night in the moonlight. White energy focused on Mizuki's fan, and then she waves the fan, and this energy travels towards all of her subordinates. And, as if it were magic, everyone started to get calmer. Everyone felt inner peace, and they didn't feel fear anymore. But the enchantment didn't last long because Victor suddenly made a move and appeared in front of a hunter. He opens his mouth full of sharp teeth and bites the hunter's neck. Ah! Save me! Save me, the hunter couldn't scream anymore because soon he had turned into a dry mummy. It was like he lost all the blood in his body. Victor stops biting the hunter, and when he lets go of his head, the hunter's entire body disappears into ash. Even the hunter's blood that splashed on him disappeared without a trace. This demonstration made the hunters fearful. The only ones not affected were the more experienced hunters, all thanks to Mizuki's enchantment, and because they had seen something similar in the past. He destroyed my armor so easily. Mizuki couldn't help but comment in disbelief. Was I wrong in my judgment? She thought, confused. Then she ordered, this monster's body is very hot. If you don't have high-level protection techniques, don't come close, or you will turn to ashes. Carlos! Yes, ma'am. Carlos runs towards Victor and punches him in the face. Victor looks at the fist in his face, and soon he smiles like he's not impressed. Monster! Don't laugh at me! Carlos attacks him again, but it wasn't working. He couldn't hurt Victor's body. Victor grabs Carlos' bald head. Carlos feels his flesh burn as Victor holds his head. Victor runs towards another hunter and holds them by the head. The friend who was next to this hunter tried to cut off Victor's hands, but the golden sword only scratched Victor's skin. Victor looks at the two heads he was holding as if they were watermelons. He flashes a big, distorted smile. Carlos, realizing what Victor intends to do, quickly uses a defensive spell. Victor hits the heads of the two men together. Crack! Sounds of broken bones were heard by all the hunters nearby. Carlos managed to survive the attack, but the hunter who was his subordinate had his brain blown out. Victor grabs Carlos by the neck and throws him at the other hunters with all his strength. Ugh! Catch me! Carlos screamed when he realized he couldn't organize his center of gravity. He started to speak an incantation, and soon his body was glowing golden. Carlos' subordinates nod their heads and catch Carlos's body. Before Carlos can do anything, he sees a giant ball of fire flying towards them. The fuck boom! Seeing those fireworks and hearing the screams of the hunters, Victor's sadistic smile grew in satisfaction. We must flee, a hunter spoke in fear. He swallowed his saliva and yelled, "We cannot fight this monster. Are you going to run away from these demons? We must kill them." A more fanatical hunter spoke, "Fuck it. I'm not going to die over bullshit like that." When this hunter was about to flee, he hears Mizuki's voice. Is that the attitude of a hunter? If you're not prepared to die, you shouldn't be in this job. She spoke in obvious contempt. She hated that hunter's cowardly attitude. She ignores the useless men. This monster is strange. He's strong, but he has the feeling of inexperience. He's just using his power directly. Let's try something. Bishamonten, give it to me, a weapon to destroy my enemies. She spoke in a neutral tone, and her fan began glowing red. Then, suddenly, her fan turns into a 2-meter-long odachi. Mizuki lifts the odachi with her right hand as if it were not heavy and puts it on her shoulder, and displays a predatory smile. Everyone could feel that the air around Mizuki changed. If before she looked like an elegant woman, now she looked like a wild beast. Mizuki takes a talisman from her pocket with her left hand, closes her eyes, and holds the talisman in front of her. Abe no Seimei, lend me your wisdom to defeat this Oni. The talisman disappeared in blue light, and soon that same light began to cover Mizuki's body. When she opened her eyes, a magic circle was carved in them. Mizuki crouches a little, and slowly the sword blade starts to be covered in blue energy. She bends her knees and with a thrust, and flies towards Victor like a missile. When she got close to Victor, she brandished the odachi diagonally. Realizing the threat, Victor suddenly disappears in front of Mizuki and appears beside her. Then he attacks her, trying to rip her head off. "It's useless," she said, smiling while blue energy glowed in her body. Victor didn't understand what happened, but he suddenly screamed from a pain he'd never felt in his life. Ah! He screamed like he was a beast being wounded. Victor. Ruby cried out in concern when she saw the cut on his chest. Victor holds his bleeding chest. Slowly, the fire that was covering his body began to weaken considerably. Realizing this was an opportunity, Mizuki flashed a maniacal smile and brandished odachi again. This time she wanted his head. But before her sword ripped off Victor's head, a huge wall of ice appeared in front of her. Mizuki's odachi cut through the ice wall easily, but soon she realized the monster was no longer in front of her. She also heard a woman's neutral voice. She turns her face and sees a woman wearing a maid outfit. She looked into the woman's blood-red eyes and realized she was a vampire. "Sorry, but I can't let you kill my master. I haven't had enough head pats yet." Seeing the darkness covering the maid's feet, Mizuki spoke the Kuroyami clan. "Oh, it's been a while since I heard that name." Kagaya flashed a small smile. Mizuki looks around and sees that the monster was being hugged by Ruby. The monster had a much weaker fire than before, and she also saw that Ruby was using her ice ability to close the wound she caused the monster. "When I destroyed the noble vampires of Japan, I looked in their records that talked about a clan of vampires who could control the shadows. They were the best assassins in Japan. A clan of vampire ninja controlled by a noble vampire who had friendly relations with Toyotomi Hideyoshi." She looked around a little further and noticed that Ruby's maid had disappeared. "Where is she? They kept records about us. What a surprise! I thought they had forgotten us." Kaguya spoke in an emotionless tone. Mizuki was looking at the monster with dangerous eyes and with a big smile on her face. With the previous confrontation, she can understand that the monster was inexperienced in fighting. He had great power. That's a fact, but he didn't know how to control it. Power, and not knowing how to control it, in a fight against a hunter is deadly. I need to eliminate him. A monster like him can't stay alive. I shouldn't miss this opportunity, she thought with determination. Cough! Victor coughed up black blood on the floor, and soon the fire that covered his body began to slowly die, and eventually his transformation was undone. He was back to normal. The poison is taking effect. Good. But this is only temporary. This poison is not strong enough to kill the noble vampires. I need to eliminate it? Mizuki thought. Darling, are you okay? Darling. Ruby tried to talk to him, but Victor's eyes were unfocused as if he were lifeless. Seeing the black blood on the floor, Kaguya looked at Mizuki. What did you do? That is not something you need to know. Mizuki spoke as she positioned herself. She placed the odachi on her shoulder again and flexed her knee. She then pulled a talisman from her pocket. The talisman began to glow, and soon she spoke as she threw the talisman at Kaguya-ken. Zo-fa, odor! A wave of flame erupted from the talisman and flew towards Kaguya. Kaguya looked at the fire neutrally approaching Onmyo Jutsu. This is something rare these days. Kaguya's body began to be covered by darkness, and soon 2 daggers appeared in her hands. She cuts the fire horizontally, and when the fire died out, she saw Mizuki running at high speed towards her. Kaguya's darkness began to grow. Slowly, the darkness began to leak towards the ground, and soon all the ground around her was covered with blackness. It was as if Kaguya had created a territory just for her. When Mizuki enters Kaguya's territory, suddenly thousands of black hands start coming out of the ground and heading towards Mizuki. Tusk, annoying Mizuki's sword, starts to be covered in thunder, and with a diagonal swing, she eliminates all of the shadow hands created by Kaguya. Where is she? Mizuki said as she looked around. You hurt my master. That is a serious crime. She heard a voice in her ear. Mizuki tried to run away, but she couldn't. As soon as she felt a dagger piercing her heart, her face took on an expression of disbelief. It was as if she didn't believe she would be eliminated so easily. Cough! She coughed up blood on the floor. Kaguya pulls the dagger out of Mizuki's heart, and when she goes to cut off her head, she hears an ancient and powerful voice enough. A blue power left Mizuki's body, and Kaguya quickly disappears into the shadows and returns to Victor's side. A guardian spirit Kaguya stared in shock as she looked at the old man who was floating around Mizuki. The old man waves his fan in his hand, and soon the wound Kaguya inflicted on Mizuki began to regenerate at high speed. He nodded satisfied and looked at Kaguya with a neutral look. Oni, you use very sneaky techniques. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters currently up to 29, visit my patreon.com or Victor Wiseman, more characters, images in https://discord. GG/forfeits like it, add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Thank you, Master, Mizuki said gratefully. Foolish disciple, you come to these foreign lands, and the first thing you do is fight without knowing the enemy? I'm disappointed. Did you forget what I taught you? The old man ignored Mizuki's thanks and began to lecture her. Ugh, Mizuki put a hand to her ear and tried to ignore her master's words, but unfortunately, she could hear the master's sermon in her mind. Kaguya looked at the old man, trying to find some characteristic that would let her recognize him as a historical figure. She knows that spirits are heroes who have fought and fallen in the past, and through magic they can be summoned. She also knows that this is a technique of invocation that was lost a long time ago. Seeing the pentagram symbol on the fan in the old man's hand, she understood and discovered who it was. Abe no Seimei. The old man hears Kaguya's words, stops lecturing his disciple, and looks at Kaguya. Then he opens his eyes a little. When Kaguya saw the magic pentagram that was similar to the magic circle Mizuki had in her eyes, she understood that she had guessed right. Oh, do you know me, Oni? And to think that my legends have spread to this foreign continent. When the old man was going to continue to say something, he heard the voices of 2 women. Darling, Violet, Sasha, and Maria arrived and looked at Ruby holding Victor, who had an unfocused look on his face, as if he was lifeless. When Victor heard Violet and Sasha's voice, his blue eyes sparkled a little, and he tried to move his hand, but he couldn't. He felt like his body was paralyzed, and he couldn't move anything. He could understand and hear everything around, but could not move. Violet jumps towards Victor and starts checking him out. Seeing that he was in a very bad state, her eyes started to darken in madness. She looks at Mizuki and says, "You did it." Mizuki was going to try to say something, but she was interrupted by Violet's angry outburst. "You did IT!" Fire started to come out of Violet's body. The atmosphere around her started to get suffocating. Violet was slowly losing herself in anger. "Calm down, Violet. We need to get away and heal our husband," Ruby spoke in a cold tone. As if by magic, the fire around Violet disappeared, and her eyes sparkled with clarity. She looked at Victor and bit her lip in frustration. "I should be by his side!" "I'm going to kill that bitch." Suddenly, everyone heard an explosion as if lightning had hit the ground. "Oni, what are you doing?" the old man asked neutrally, as he looked at Sasha, who attacked Mizuki, who defended herself with her odachi. Sasha didn't respond. She just looked at Mizuki with hate in her eyes. Lightning started to crackle around Sasha, and soon she disappeared in a flash and attacked Mizuki again. Mizuki wasn't able to attack. Sasha was too fast, so she just assumed a defensive position with her odachi and protected the vital parts of her body. The spirit looked at everything with interest. He didn't seem to be interested in interfering in the fight and continued watching everything with curiosity shining in his eyes. Sasha took the dagger from her legs and started making small cuts on Mizuki's body. The dagger couldn't pierce Mizuki's body. "Give up, Oni. You can't penetrate my disciple's defenses. You're quick, but you're not strong enough." The old man spoke in a neutral tone. Sasha's eyes flashed with more hate when she heard the old man's words. She hates the woman for leaving Victor in that state, and she hates the old man for underestimating her. Sasha's body began to glow yellow. "Sasha, don't lose your cool. If you use this power for too long, you will be incapacitated," Ruby exclaimed. Sasha yelled angrily, "I don't care! I'm going to kill this bitch." Boom! Lightning struck Sasha's body, and slowly, her body began to change colon. Her ears began to grow and become elongated like an elf. Her teeth began to grow and become sharper. She grew a little higher, and soon she turned into a female version of the transformation of Victor. The only differences were that her body was covered in yellow lightning and that her powers seemed to be concentrated in her legs. "Another Count-class vampire," Mizuki said as she walked away from Sasha. For a moment she looked at the spirit with a hateful look. She knows that sadistic old man will only help with something if she is about to die. "General, I marry." Carlos, who had burns all over his body, screamed when he saw Maria from afar. Maria looked at Carlos for a moment. Her eyes gleamed with the desire to go back to him, but the master's order was absolute. She couldn't do anything. Ruby looked around and noticed that the hunters Victor had fought and not killed were returning to recovered states. She looked at Mizuki and saw that the woman was being healed by some strange technique she was using. The hunters had the upper hand. Mizuki is a general with a focus on support and melee combat. As long as she's alive, we won't be able to eliminate them all, not to mention that old spirit is still around. We have to retreat. Ruby analyzed the situation calmly. Sasha, hearing Carlos' voice, loses interest in Mizuki and looks at Carlos with eyes longing for revenge. Ruby for the first time got angry and yelled, "Sasha, get a grip. Decide what's most important to you now. Your revenge or our husband." Sasha turns to face Ruby. She looks at Victor lying on the floor like he's dead and bites her lip in frustration. But soon she makes a decision. She disappears from where she was and appears next to Victor. The only thing the hunters could see was a trail of lightning. Mizuki looked around and saw that the normal hunters had started to fall to the ground with their necks cut. All of them, who couldn't react to Sasha, were killed by her daggers. The only ones who survived were those hunters who had high-level defensive enchantments like Carlos. "We must back off," Sasha spoke as her transformation was undone. Seeing that Sasha was breathing a bit heavily, Ruby thought she still doesn't control this transformation completely. She was too reckless. "Oni, do you think you're allowed to leave this place?" the old spirit asked as he placed the fan in front of his mouth. Mizuki picks up and places the odachi on her shoulder and speaks while holding a talisman with her other hand. "Kirin, the messenger of the gods, the Onis are in my sight, and I need your help." She positioned herself to run and attack the vampires, but stopped when she saw her master motioning her to do nothing. Ruby looked at the old spirit with a smile on her face. "We don't need your permission to leave this place. Get your dick out of your ass. You're just a dead man." Then she looks at Sasha and Violet, as if indicating for them to do something. The two women smile as if they understand something. "Oh, The old man opened his eyes, his expression shifting to disdain. You think just shut the fuck up, you trash. Why don't you go back to the hole you came out of? Didn't your mother teach you to be obedient? Violet spoke angrily, then she flashes her disdainful smile. Oh, I don't think she can do that. After all, she was busy satisfying her customers. She never could teach you anything. The old man's face began to distort in anger. You now? Ruby spoke. Kaguya suddenly disappears into the shadows and enters Victor's shadows. Soon after, Ruby creates a huge ice wall. Violet creates a big fireball and attacks the wall. Boom! An explosion occurred when the fireball hit Ruby's ice wall. Soon an intense fog was created around it. Seizing the chance, Sasha grabs Violet and Victor on her shoulders and moves fast, leaving lightning trails behind. Ruby does the same to Maria and runs a bit after Sasha. Children's tricks. Carlos screamed and punched the air, and with the pressure made by Carlos' fist, he cleared the entire area that was in the fog. When he looked around and saw that there was no one, he shouted angrily. They fled. Ignoring Carlos' anger, Mizuki looked at her master. Because you stopped me, I couldn't kill them. Abe no Seimei just sighed in disappointment and looked at Mizuki, foolish disciple. You still need to train. More Mizuki didn't understand why her master reacted like that, but she didn't think too much. She was used to her master's weirdness. What do we do, General? A hunter who survived asked. Mizuki looks around, and when she sees the mess they've created, she says, we must retreat, recover the bodies of the fallen hunters, and let's go back to our temporary base. Good decision, her master praised. While the hunters recovered the bodies of fallen combatants, Mizuki's master was in deep thought. Abe no Seimei is the old man's name. He is a unique exorcist at the time he was alive. Even after he died, he became a powerful spirit, but even this powerful exorcist who fought countless Oni, when I was alive, he was afraid of someone. That Akuma is still alive. And she had a daughter. I think the world will end in this era. The moment this old exorcist appeared to save his disciple, he could immediately feel the gaze of a beast watching him from afar. And, from that moment, he knew he could not interfere or severely hurt the red-haired woman. He didn't want to die permanently. After all, he had a lot of things he wanted to do. In a building several kilometers away, 7 people could be seen. They were wearing a black suit that covers the entire body and an all-black mask that hides the facial expression of these individuals. And in front of these individuals was a woman who was wearing black jeans, a black V-neck t-shirt showing a lot of her 8-cup-sized breasts under her shirt without hiding much skin, especially in the region of her huge breasts. She also wore a short black suit jacket. We need to eliminate that newborn. He broke the rules. One of the 7 beings who were wearing a mask spoke in an unrecognizable voice. They seemed to be using something to disguise their voice. By using his power openly, he's exposed us. It must be eliminated. 3 masked men agreed to eliminate the newborn vampire, but the remaining 4 just remained silent and looking at the woman with a cautious look. After all, they knew very well the temperament of this red-haired woman. Foo. The woman smiled in a gentle way while her gaze glowed madly. She seemed to be watching something from far away. The 3 masked ones stopped talking and looked at the woman apprehensively. They didn't want to provoke the woman. Slowly, her gentle smile began to change into a crazy smile. Ha 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 ha. Interesting. My daughter, my beloved daughter, whom I carefully raised as a child, found a husband. Suddenly, she turns and looks at the 7 masked beings. I heard that the first prince's son likes to travel the world. I wonder if I should pay him a visit? The 6 masked beings started to sweat with fear under the mask. They didn't know how to interpret the words of this crazy woman. Is she asking a question? Or is she threatening the life of the first prince's son? They didn't know. That's why they don't like dealing with this woman. The 7th masked man, who was calmer, said hurriedly, We understand each other. We don't know anything, and we're not going to do anything. But I asked a question. The woman spoke with a confused face, but her crazy smile never left her face. The masked man's body trembled in fear. We know. Lady Scathach is always right. Don't worry. No one will know about what happened. We will leave all responsibility for this situation to Lady Scathach. Are you going to leave the responsibility to me? The woman's eyes began to glow dangerously. The masked man screamed like a little girl and said, we were never here, so this incident never existed. The woman's eyes stopped shining, and soon she smiled in a gentle way. "Thanks for the hard work. You guys can go now." "Yes, ma'am." The masked man who shouted quickly responded, as if he were a soldier who responded to the superior, and soon the masked man disappears. The remaining 6 masked men just looked at the whole situation without words. They didn't understand anything. "What are you waiting for?" "Shoo, shoo," she spoke, as if she was talking to a dog. The masked 6 awakened from their stupor and quickly disappeared. Seeing that the masked ones disappeared, she spoke with a gentle smile. I think I will visit my daughter." But soon her expression changed to a serious face. "But first, I must sort some things out. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters currently up to 30, visit my Patreon, patreon.com, or Victor Weissman, more characters images in https://discord. GG/4fetsaf like it? Add to library? Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. February 5th. 2 days after Victor, Violet, Sasha, and Ruby clashed with the Hunters. Night. Current location: the Vatican, headquarters of the Inquisition organization. In the skies over Vatican City, a red plane was flying at an altitude of over 30,000 feet. "Lady Skethich, we've arrived." The pilot of the plane informed the woman who was lying lazily with a photo album on her face. The woman opens her eyes, takes the photo album from her face, and puts it on the table beside her. "I'll be back soon, Ruby," the woman spoke, smiling lovingly as she looked at the photo album, which started to freeze slowly, and soon it was in a pure ice chest that looked quite sturdy. The woman stretches a little, and when she does, her big breasts threaten to come out of the blouse she was wearing. But even with that tempting sight, the pilot showed no reaction or looked at the woman's breasts. The woman smiled sensually and licked her lips teasingly when she realized the pilot showed no reaction to her beauty. This pilot attitude towards her was a good thing. She didn't want to change pilots again. The 101 previous pilots made the mistake of looking at her with lust, and today they are buried 6 feet underground. As a vampire who has been alive for over 2,000 years, she considers herself an old-fashioned woman. Looking is okay, but looking with lust is a big no. Because of that, she has killed many men in the past. Well, she admits she's a bit cruel. She likes to tease men, and when these men get lost in lust, she castrates the men and then kills them in the end. This was all just a hobby for her, a sadistic joke for her to have fun when she was bored. Scarthach cracks her neck a little. "Let's pay a visit to my friend." Her face took on a confused expression. "What's his name again? Kratos something? I think it was Zeus." "Well, it's not important." She shrugged as if it didn't matter. "Tony, keep flying over Vatican airspace," the woman ordered. "My name is Lucas, ma'am." The man sighed tiredly. When he saw the woman's red eyes glowing a little, he quickly nodded his head. "Yes, Lady Scarthach." He accepted the order. "Good." She smiled with a cold little smile. She opens the plane door, smiles a predatory smile, and, with a little kick of her feet, she jumps into the air. "Let me get this straight." A man with long golden hair and golden eyes speaks with a tired face. He puts his hand on the brow of his face and says, "I gave the order to search and capture the vampire who stole the finger of Saint Mary, a sacred artifact, right?" The man had the expression. He said, "I hope you're kidding. You're kidding, right? Please tell me you are kidding." "Yes," Mizuki, who was called back to the Vatican, replied. She had just finished reporting everything that happened in the incident she was involved in 2 days ago. The man's expression crumbles. He looked depressed now. He sighs once more and presses a little button he has under the table. Then he leans back in his chair while waiting for the person he just called. And before long, just a few seconds later, someone knocks softly on the door and walks in. "Your Holiness?" Alexander, the man, spoke in a neutral tone that held a lot of respect. Alexander, the man with golden hair and golden eyes, looked at the man who just walked in. He looked 25 years old with brown hair and brown eyes. Standing at 180 centimeters tall, he was wearing white priest's robes. "General Kurtz, can you raise the alarm, please?" Kurtz looked at Alexander with a neutral gaze and without questioning said, "What's the alarm level, Your Holiness?" "Level 6's that demon coming," he asked in a neutral tone, but Alexander could see he was hiding his fear from him. "Yes," Alexander nodded, then continued as he stared at the ceiling, "Actually, she's already here." His eyes seemed to glow golden for a moment. A sonic boom was heard by everyone present, and then they heard an explosion as if something was falling to the ground. Boom! The impact was so big that the structures around the impact started to shake a little. It was like a small earthquake. Do what? What is it? Mizuki leaned a little against the wall as she exclaimed in surprise. Alexander gets up from his chair, and for the first time, Mizuki saw how tall this man was. He was 195 centimeters tall, and his toned body couldn't be hidden by the white priest's uniform he was wearing. Soon the man walks smoothly towards the window. Mizuki, do you know what happened to the former general you took over for? He asked in a gentle tone. He died. But I don't know the details of death, she said. Yes, he died. He was a good friend, Alexander said, a little sadly. He opened the window and looked at the red-haired woman who had a huge smile on her face that showed all her sharp teeth. The woman was standing in a huge crater. She gently jumped out of the crater, and the moment she puts her feet on the ground outside the crater she was in, the whole area around the woman was frozen. It looks like the woman created her own territory for herself with more than 5 kilometers of pure ice. Scotch Mizuki swallowed a little saliva. Indeed, Alexander nodded. This demon killed the former general. She was shopping at the Vatican, and when our former general tried to harass her, she killed him and left me a letter of complaint claiming that I needed to improve the policemen that protect the Vatican. Mizuki opened her mouth in shock. She even thought she heard Alexander's words wrong. Do you understand what I mean? Alexander asked as he looked at Mizuki. Do what? She stuttered. Alexander sighed and explained, you hurt this demon's daughter. Do you think she came here for? Mizuki closed her mouth and said nothing. After all, she had thought it would be a good opportunity to kill Ruby, who could be a very dangerous vampire in the future. She had even thought that Scathach's strength was overestimated. After all, she wouldn't dare attack the Vatican alone, right? Destroying a third-world country is easy for any power in the world. After all, the country that Scathach destroyed in the past didn't have soldiers like the Vatican, but fuck. If she had known this information about the former general before, she wouldn't have tried to kill Ruby. Your Holiness. 2 voices were heard, and soon 2 men entered the room where the Golden Man was. General James and General Leonardo. Prepare for battle. Alexander spoke in a gentle tone as he opened the window and jumped out of the room. General James, a dark-looking man with black hair and black eyes wearing black priest's robes, was a short man at only 170 centimeters tall. James looked out the window when he saw the woman who had created an ice throne and sat on it while waiting patiently. He looked at Mizuki. What did you do, woman? Apparently, I provoked a monster, Mizuki spoke in a sarcastic tone as she walked towards the window. Great, just great, James said in a sarcastic tone. Then he jumped out the window and followed Alexander. Don't interfere in the battle, young one, Kurtz said neutrally. Yes, I know. Mizuki didn't mind the way Kurtz spoke. After all, she knew these men were older than they looked. Mizuki looked at the last man in the room. He had red hair and bright blue eyes, and like the 3 generals and the Pope himself, he looked like a 25-year-old adult. Ha ha ha, she's as beautiful as ever. Too bad she's a demon. Leonardo spoke with an arrogant smile. Then he followed the 2 generals. Hello, Kratos, it's been a while since we've seen each other. I think the last time was 2 months ago. Scathach asked the golden-haired man. The man sighs and says, my name is Alexander. How many times has he repeated that same phrase over the years? Oh, I'm sorry, she said. Then she continued as she crossed her legs elegantly. You know how being old is. You forget things as time goes by. You don't look old to me, Leonardo said with a smile on his face, but soon his expression darkened to pure fear as he felt Scathach's sheer killing intent. The moment she saw he was scared with just that, she loses interest. She looks at the man like she's looking at an insect. Scathach likes talented people. And with just one look, she could tell this man had no potential. He stinks of garbage. To her, this man wasn't even qualified to breathe the same air as her. Silence, dog. I'm talking to your owner. Why you? He tried to say something again, then immediately felt danger coming from around his neck. Boom! Just as the general tried to say something, Scathach moved and tried to decapitate the man. You're crazier than usual, demon, Alexander said as he held Scathach's wrist. I said silence. He must learn to listen to his elders. She spoke with a big smile on her face, then disappears again and sits on the ice throne she created. She crosses her legs elegantly again while keeping a sensual smile on her face. Leonardo just stayed silent while sweating a lot. He was just going to lose his life without any effort. He looks at Scathach and thinks, crazy bitch, you've gotten stronger. She complimented him with a smile that showed off her sharp teeth. Indeed, I've had a lot of time to train. He spoke with the same gentle tone. He didn't seem annoyed that she was trying to kill his general. 1900 years' time passes quickly, huh? She spoke with a bit of nostalgia. She seemed to miss the past. Alexander was silent. He had the same feeling of nostalgia that the woman has. As a human who gained eternal youth, he too had to go through many difficult farewells. I've always had a curiosity, Alexander said. Which is, what is the story of your life? Alexander asked something he always forgot to ask, and the moment he asked that question, all three generals looked at Scathach with curiosity twinkling in their eyes. Life story, huh? She spoke as if thinking deeply, then she smiled and said, I don't have anything interesting to tell about my life, but once, I met Jesus. How was he? After the initial shock, Alexander asked, showing more interest than usual. The three generals will open their eyes in shock. He was a silly and boring man, she spoke with a smile on her face. The three generals clenched their fists in anger, but Alexander's expression remained the same. Soon Scathach continues, I met him once in the past. He wasn't the saint you believe. He was a normal human. He shits, pisses, and eats. He was a man with great potential. I wanted to train him in the past. The four men opened their eyes in profound shoka, vampire training Jesus. Is this some kind of prank? That's what the generals were thinking. I even asked him to be my disciple, but he refused. He preferred to help people than to grow stronger. He was a good-hearted man. Unfortunately, his good heart was what led to his death. She spoke with a disappointed face. She still thinks that if Jesus trained enough, he could have given her a good fight. The four men remained silent. The three generals had various emotions running through their bodies. They didn't know how to react to this revelation. Although Scathach didn't care about their existence. He didn't deserve that death. Alexander spoke in a melancholy tone. Indeed, Scathach agreed. A moment of silence passed between Alexander and Scathach. Soon Alexander sighs again. He doesn't know how many times he sighed that day. I'm sorry for what my subordinate did. She will be punished. Please can you go back as if nothing had happened? Scathach's smile grew and said, It's impossible. I warned the world in the incident 18 years ago. The message was clear, touch my daughter, and you felt my anger. You didn't give me any choice. Then Alexander spoke as his eyes began to glow golden. Slowly, a golden aura began to cover his body. My dear, she smiled sensually as she licked her lips, and soon her eyes began to glow blood red. You had no choice from the start. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters currently up to 31, visit my Patreon, patreon.com, or Victor Wiseman, more characters, images in https://discord, gg/4fetsafflikeit, add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like